origin?
My father's side, yes. I don't speak Italian, unfortunately.
Oh.
But it is my favorite country in the world. And the only country that can pronounce my name correctly.
Gugino.
Sì.
Cousin.
Carla Gugino.
Okay. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great movie.
Thank you so
and
much.
Who is Emma? First question.
Well, you know, I think Emma is she's a very interesting character. She's a very interesting woman because this is a woman who found what I think she thought was the love of her life very early on. Ray, played by Dwayne Johnson. And they had kids very young, and they were always sort of partners, them against the world. They were always a team. And they have, as you've seen the movie, a huge family tragedy. And in the midst of that, not only does she lose her daughter in that process, but her other daughter, but she loses her husband in a way because he's unable, he has so much guilt about the situation, he's unable to really be there for her. And in the midst of this, as time goes on, she realizes she's probably going to have to take care of herself and her daughter, Blake, played by Alexander Daddario, and she moves in with this new man, and you know, and I think is a woman who is someone who's very much about moving on, about taking something hard, and pretty much for a parent, the hardest thing you could ever have happen to you, and getting the strength from that and stepping forward and trying to live the best life she can live. And I think in an interesting way, you know, Dwayne's character Ray is so courageous in his profession, and she's more courageous in her emotions, and she's more courageous as a person who is willing to look this straight in the face. And because of this crisis that happens now, she's able to actually help him look it straight in the face so that he can move on.
Let's talk about the wonderful rooftop scene.
Yeah.
You are a wonderful, skilled actress, and I wonder what kind of job did you do in that kind of environment and in that kind of situation?
Yeah, it was really, really fascinating. I've never been in anything like that. You know, I always love it when I get a challenge that I really don't know if I'm going to succeed at. Because it just terrifies me, and I think that that's somehow something I enjoy in a masochistic kind of way, I guess. But when Brad said to me, oh yeah, and I want to shoot that whole sequence in one shot, I was like, okay, excellent. So I played it really cool. I was like, great, no problem. But it was actually incredible because for me, one of the great things about, I've been making movies since I was, 13, and one of the things that I love about it is at the end of the movie, when you see the scroll of names at the end, you can't make a movie without every single one of those people. And a shot like that is a moment when that is incredibly clear. Mm-hmm. And when it really comes into play, because the Steadicam operator has a camera on him. You know, I am taking all my own falls and ducking fireballs, and there are stunt people diving and glasses shattering, and he's running backwards and I'm running upstairs, and then people are falling out of walls. I mean, it's so crazy that every single person has to be at the top of their game if that shot's going to work. And if one thing goes wrong, the shot doesn't work. And then it took 4 hours to reset it, to do it again. So in that moment, when we finished the shot and we got the shot that worked, everybody was the entire crew, hundreds of people broke into applause because it was this kind of, and Dwayne came over to watch that shot. Like, it was something where we were like, we're all here for the same purpose, and it's asking the best of all of us. And so for me, collaboration is one of the most exciting things about what I do, and those are the moments that really make it count. So it was an incredible experience, that sequence.
How many times did you do it?
We did that sequence because then after that sequence, there were things that took, we did many more takes of. That sequence we did 3 takes of total. We did 2 takes on a Friday and 1 on a Saturday morning.
So 12 hours.
Yeah.
4 hours.
Well, we did. Yeah, we did. We know you, but the thing is, you shoot it in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes, however long it was, and then you wait for 4 hours, and then we shot one more time, and then they reset overnight, and we shot one more the next morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And let's talk about another big scene, which is small, because the wonderful thing about Mr. Peyton movie is very complex and it's very simple at the same time.
Absolutely.
And the scene with Dwayne
in the plane.
Yeah. I love him. I never saw him so fragile.
Yeah.
So how many times did you do that scene, and how did you work in that scene with Dwayne?
I think I agree with you. I think it's really some of the most beautiful work I've ever seen him do, and the most nuanced, emotional, work, subtle and just very powerful. We had we had a real trust with each other, and felt very vulnerable, able to be very vulnerable together, and that scene came about very naturally. It really did, and we didn't do that many takes of it. I don't know. Brad would be able to probably tell you exactly 6 or 7 takes. I don't know. It wasn't a huge amount of takes of that scene. And it was just something that I love that scene so much too, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, because what I love about this movie is there's all this spectacle and the visuals are astounding and your heart is beating. And then in these moments, you get these moments to breathe and these moments of solitude where, like in life, in crisis, you distill everything down to what really matters. And that's what really matters to them, that experience of what happened with their daughter, how they're going to reconcile, and how they're going to move on. And are they going to be able to move on together? So to me, that scene is the heart of the movie, And I agree with you. I think he did just it's a really beautiful scene.
And you are a really beautiful couple in the movie.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
First of all, I was talking with Mr. Johnson about the wonderful scene on the plane.
Oh, great.
Okay?
Yeah.
Maybe the most difficult scene in his career. And he agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me something about that wonderful moment.
Well, I knew it was going to be challenging. It demands a lot of honesty. It demands that you leave your armor at home. It demands that you trust the director and trust your co-star. And it's one of the single moments I'm most proud of with the movie, because it is Dwayne being very revealing. And I always knew he could do that, and it was one of the things I really loved about this character, was that he was going to do a new version of a hero, a guy that was a little more flawed, a little more damaged than he'd ever done. And so that was there in the DNA of who Ray Gaines was, the character that Dwayne was really defining and exploring. Those scenes and the scene at the end with the resuscitation scene were unbelievably rewarding to film, because you could see it. And when I got there and I blocked that scene with them in particular, I had like a whole shot list. So we'll do these different shots, we'll do mediums and close-up. When I watched it, I realized I need to get out of their way. And all the scene is 2 shots just slowly zooming in. And that was to simplify it down so that all you're seeing is the emotion.
Let's talk a little bit about that wonderful rooftop scene in one cut.
Yeah.
Okay, how masochistic are you, Mr. Peyton?
I'm. You know what? I'm not, because actually, as a director, I'm just sitting and waiting for everyone else to do their job on that one. I mean, it's very interesting because it was 2, I think, hours of reset time, or 4 hours of
Yeah,
4
Mrs.
hours.
Gugino said
Yeah,
4.
4 hours. That's about right. I was so tired. I don't remember any of the how many hours it was. But all I remember on that day was okay, so once the camera starts rolling, it's out of my hands. Normally, I'm okay, what's the next setup? What's the next setup? Okay, well, go in and give him a new direction. That was so unbelievably well executed by the actors, the stunt team, the cameraman. I mean, obviously, we wrote it, we pre-vised it. It was one of the early things actually I pitched, which was that was my idea, was to follow her as the building was collapsing, because I was inspired by Children of Men to do a long take, to experience something. Rather than cutting and making it kind of feel like a movie, I was like, we don't cut, it'll feel real. But the technical side of it takes over at a certain point. You have to trust your stunt team, you have to trust the camera operator. We rehearsed it for months. We taped out the set. They started doing it with the stunt team. Then we built it out of cardboard, with all the tables and boxes. They did that. Then when the set was built, I lost my camera operator for 2 days. He took the full cast, the stunt coordinator took the full cast, 100 extras, my camera operator, they went and rehearsed. And then for 2 days we sat there trying to get the shot. But I actually could sit in my chair and wait for 2 hours, which was so, I was like, oh, I'll have a coffee. This is fantastic. I'm going to do this more often.
In fact, Mr. Jones, I asked him which is Mr. Peyton's secret, because in the Journey movie, you were great as a couple, actor and director. And he told me he's a crazy guy, he's always running, always in the moment. And what kind of strange director are you? Now you are evolving or not evolving?
Yeah. Okay, well, I can tell you how I feel, and then I can tell you probably how I am. How I feel, they have this thing where they say, you're either the madman or the owl. You know, as a director, you've heard of that, right? Like the madman is like, ah. In real life, it's not on set, I am the owl. Easily. I want to sit at home, I want to watch movies, I want to write, I want to like quiet time. I literally am like a hermit, and I'm happy being a hermit. I'm not like that on set, however. I'm just hyper focused, basically. It's everything is about the details, you know. They were calling me the method director because, but I want to be in there. I want to like make it right, you know what I mean? Like I have one shot to do this movie. I want it to be right. I want everything to work, you know. I want them to be proud of it. I want to be proud of it. And I'm like such a hard critic on myself that if I can get to a place where I'm like, okay, I think that's good enough, then it's probably gonna work. But getting there is not, you know, a lackadaisical exercise. You have to be way inside, you have to be way inside your own vision. And so what he's describing, I think, is this like level of mania that you have to have if you really care. And I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm as raw as the movie is, this really is a representation of who I am. And on the day, I just have to be a bit of a maniac, and I have to be in there because I want it to be right. I want it to be right so bad that I give it everything I have, because I don't want to ever regret it. I don't want to look back and go, oh my God, on that day I could have had this if I just had one more coffee, or whatever, you know, whatever it is. If I just asked for one more take, I want to move on in my life going, that is ultimately the best thing I could have possibly made at that point in my career, which, by the way, is why I'm so proud of this movie, because I couldn't have done it anything more. I gave this everything I had to get it to where it is. Now, obviously, I look at it and go, oh my God, I should have done. Of course, I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. But, you know, that's what the next movie is for. But so I'm both. I'm like the madman on set a little bit, I guess. But in real life, I'm totally super quiet and just want to read.